The story begins on a quiet morning. Henry just got off the night shift at the toll booth. He heads home and sees his wife, Debbie, standing at the door. She brings him some breakfast. They start talking over the meal, but the mood is pretty tense.
Okay.
Okay, you want kids?
I love kids.
Henry, do you still love me?
It's easy to tell something's already broken in their marriage. Debbie is waiting for Henry to respond. Just then, there's a knock at the door behind them. Henry opens it and sees his old friend Eddie. Behind Eddie, some weird guy is lying flat in the grass. After a quick chat, Henry learns the guy puking his guts out is named Joe. Right off the bat, the dude looks like a total jerk. Nice guy Henry still lets him inside. Debbie, who's a nurse, immediately starts dealing with his condition. According to Eddie, they were supposed to be playing in a huge baseball game, but Joe ate some damn Penrose sausages the night before. So Eddie asks Henry to step in as a substitute.
Okay.
So what do you say? Henry.
Henry eventually says yes. He gets behind the wheel and floors it, following Eddie's directions. Soon the car pulls up right outside a bank. Eddie and Joe thank Henry, throw on their masks, and hop out. There are now 4 people in the car, including Henry. That extra guy was probably someone Henry picked up on the way. Henry still has zero clue what's about to happen. Utterly confused, he just stares at the 3 of them walking away. The 3 rush inside the bank and start robbing the place. Officer Frank, thinking he's about to get off duty, spots the whole scene. The 3 jerks seize the chance and slip away. Officer Frank hauls Henry in instead. At the station, Henry goes through round after round of grilling, but he never gives up Eddie and Joe. Just like that, Henry Torne is handed a 3-year prison sentence for a robbery he knew absolutely nothing about. That prison time becomes the turning point of his entire life. Inside, he meets a guy named Max. Max is genuinely impressed by Henry's story. He calls it a clean, sleek, pink robbery. They talk a lot. Max comes off like a kind old-timer. He shares all sorts of life lessons with Henry. He also hustles Henry out of the bread on his meal tray. 6 months pass. His wife, Debbie, visits him in prison. She hits him with bad news.
I fell in love.
She fully expects Henry to explode. Nobody sees this coming. His reaction is strangely calm. It's like nothing could ever rattle this guy. Henry doesn't even get mad. Instead, he straight up wishes Debbie happiness. That tense breakfast from way back already screamed it. Their relationship was falling apart. He always knew this day would come. That's why he's so weirdly chill about it. 3 years fly by and Henry gets out. He heads home, but his wife isn't the one greeting him. It's that dirtbag Joe. Joe has moved right into Henry's house. He even got Debbie pregnant with his kid. Now Henry is the outsider. He starts packing his things to leave. Joe has the absolute nerve to come over and lecture him.
Hey, maybe you'd be interested, Henry. You could be a distributor for Gin Chi.
If it weren't for Joe, Henry never would have done 3 years inside. This guy ruined Henry, stole his wife, and took his property. He did everything an enemy could possibly do. And now he's casually dishing out advice like some old friend. Henry still says nothing. He just nods like a zombie. Inside his head, a crazy, insane plan is starting to brew. Completely lost, he wanders over near that same bank again. In a daze, he gets nailed by a car. The woman driving is named Julie. She jumps out and immediately cusses him out as a blind idiot. She's yelling about calling an ambulance. Henry just says he's fine. Right then, Officer Frank, the same guy who arrested him, spots him. He walks over and invites Henry into a nearby cafe. Out of guilt, Julie doesn't just drive off. She walks into the cafe too, asking about Henry's condition. Henry finds himself drawn to this woman. It kind of feels like they might have known each other before. Julie, on the other hand, has never met a man like this. He genuinely seems to not care about her at all. On his way to the restroom, Henry catches a news report. It's about a failed attempt to rob a bank through a tunnel. Then it hits him, isn't there a tunnel across the street? One that connects the bank to a theater? A wild idea takes root right there. He wants to rob a bank, for real this time as an actual bank robber. The second that thought plants in his mind, there's absolutely no killing it. He quickly goes to see Max in prison. He asks Max if he wants in. Max is outright shocked by this crazy idea. He doesn't say yes immediately. Henry doesn't give up just because Max rejects him. He wanders into a theater and realizes the woman on stage is Julie. The director tears her performance completely to shreds. Furious, Julie storms off the stage and spots Henry standing right there. Henry walks up and talks to her, saying her acting was actually great. She half-jokingly thanks him for not suing her over that car accident. Meanwhile, Max goes up for his parole hearing. He follows Henry's advice and gets released. On the day he gets out, Henry is there to pick him up. The two of them start hatching that crazy plan. Max doesn't think Henry's idea is exactly grounded in reality, but Henry is dead set on believing in it. They decide to case the bank first. Max uses his smooth talking skills to sweet-talk some key intel on the vault. Next, they head to the theater to find the tunnel entrance. That's when they bump into Julie again. Julie demands to know why they're there. Max pretends he's genuinely fascinated by the theater and gets inside. The playwright gives Max a full tour. Thanks to Max's smooth con job, the guy unintentionally points out the tunnel's exact location. At the same time, Henry and Julie are just chatting away like old pals. Before Max heads out, Henry asks Julie out on a date.
You like Chinese?
Yeah?
Jinlong?
Yeah, it's okay.
8 o'clock?
Sure.
Great.
8 o'clock that night, Julie shows up. Their first official date kicks off, and the vibe is great. After dinner, they're taking a walk by a waterfall. Julie asks about his reason for going to prison. Henry opens up and lays out his whole absurd story. Half jokingly, he even admits that he now genuinely wants to rob a bank. Julie finds it completely and utterly insane, but she can't deny the fact that she really enjoys being around him. It's a gentle night. They can't help themselves and start kissing, and they spend the night together. The next day, Julie shows up at Max's apartment. Max gets furious when he realizes Julie knows about the heist plan, but Julie already heard the whole thing from Henry. Over a meal, she gives her 2 cents on their plan. After they finish talking, Julie gets ready to leave. Max suddenly stops her and asks her to drive him to the theater, because now, would you believe it, he's a volunteer there. During theater rehearsals, Henry and Max are still stressing. How do they dig a tunnel without too many people noticing? Max suddenly has a total light bulb moment. Make Henry play the lead. That way they'll have a rock-solid reason to access that tunnel. Maybe it's pure dumb luck, or maybe God's helping out. The original lead suddenly drops out. Henry gets recommended to play the male lead.
I love you. Like a sister. More than a sister.
Once he's the leading man, they can come and go freely from the tunnel room. But they quickly realize there's a ton of digging ahead, and they need more hands. Henry has another quick brainwave and goes to find Joe. By this point, Joe's business has gone completely down the drain. He's drowning himself in booze. After hearing Henry's idea, Joe doesn't even think twice and says yes. But right then, the unexpected hits. Officer Frank, the guy who arrested Henry, suddenly shows up. You'd naturally think he's about to bust them all again. Turns out Frank is drowning in serious debt. He actually agrees to be their inside man. He drops a critical piece of information. He calmly says he saw them coming out of the theater behind the bank. He knows exactly what they're plotting. He doesn't want to arrest a single one of them. Instead, he offers to be the inside guy. Once a month, a truck hauls all the cash away to headquarters. During that window, the vault sits on 8 to 12 million bucks in cash. Frank ended up in this miserable spot because of a massive family tragedy.
Wife got sick a few years ago. Insurance wouldn't pick up all the costs, so I went to the bank. They wouldn't help cover the difference. Then she died.
Rehearsals keep grinding on. The director keeps nitpicking Julie's acting and even humiliates her in public. Her emotions are dangling right on the edge. Over on the other side, Eddie and Joe come looking for Max. Eddie says Joe already spilled everything, and now he wants in too. Max is far from happy about it, but reluctantly agrees. Opening night is getting dangerously close. While the plan is moving forward, Henry suddenly tells Max he can't go through with it, because he can't stand the thought of leaving Julie behind. Max is deeply disappointed by Henry's decision. He grabs Henry and pleads with him, talking him back into it. At the same time, Julie discovers Henry is still plotting the robbery. He's even planning to take her with him to America, essentially making her an accomplice. She totally breaks down and kicks Henry out. Opening night. It's also heist night. The cash delivery arrives right on schedule, exactly as Frank promised. Frank, Max, Joe, and the others get the signal and start moving. Henry is delivering his performance on stage. During a scene break, he slips off and joins the real-life drama. They successfully get their hands on the money. But that's when pure greed detonates everything. Eddie suddenly pulls a gun on Max. In the total chaos that erupts, Joe bites Eddie unconscious. Max smashes him to the ground. They load the cash into the car. They should just take off, but Henry stubbornly makes Joe stop. He cannot leave Julie behind. Henry sprints like a madman. He's injured, but he drags his worn-out body back. By some miracle, he makes it to the stage before his scene ends and finishes the show. The curtain drops and the applause is deafening. But Henry's eyes are fixed on one person, Julie. Right there in front of the crowd and the woman he loves. He tells her he's back. He says this part wasn't in the script. He wants to go to Moscow with her. He loves her. The whole audience watches this wild play within a play in total fascination. Someone even yells for Julie to say yes. The director senses something seriously off and begins dimming the lights. Right as the darkness and chaos are about to swallow everything, Julie says nothing at all, but her face right then says more than 1,000 words ever could. She's ready. She's ready to hop on that unknown ride with this weird, clumsy yet utterly sincere man.